The flashing red and blue lights pierce through the dusk like a warning siren to the world. A black SUV slows down on Highway 42, its tires crunching against the gravel shoulder. Inside the car, a family of four grows silent. The officer behind the wheel of the patrol car smirks. His name is Officer Daniel Crowley, and he has worn the badge for 10 years in Riverton County, Georgia. He doesn't need a reason tonight, he just needs a feeling, and the sight of a black family driving in a shiny late-model SUV through his quiet jurisdiction is reason enough for him. "License and registration," Crowley barks as he approaches the driver's side. His tone carries no courtesy, only command. Inside the SUV, Marcus Davis keeps his hands visible on the steering wheel. His wife Lila rests a protective hand on their daughter's shoulder in the back seat, while their teenage son sits stiff, his jaw tight. "Yes, officer," Marcus replies calmly. His voice is deep, measured, the kind of tone that has diffused more than one tense encounter in his life. He retrieves his wallet slowly, deliberately, movements exaggerated so there can be no accusation of suddenness. Crowley narrows his eyes, taking in the tailored shirt Marcus wears, the well-kept watch on his wrist. "Where you headed in such a hurry?" he demands. Marcus glances at his wife. "We're on our way home from church." Crowley leans closer, shining his flashlight straight into Marcus's face. "Church, huh? Out here this late?" His lips curl. "Step out of the vehicle." A hush falls over the SUV. Lila squeezes her daughter's trembling hands. "Stay calm," she whispers, though her own pulse races. Marcus unbuckles and steps out slowly. The cool air of evening hits his face. The highway is nearly empty, but a few cars pass, headlights catching the tense scene. Some drivers glance but keep moving. Others slow, phones lifted discreetly to record. Crowley circles Marcus like a predator measuring prey. "This your vehicle?" "Yes, officer, it's registered in my name." "You people sure love fancy cars," Crowley mutters under his breath, loud enough to sting. He presses Marcus against the SUV, palms searching for weapons he knows won't be there. His handcuffs dangle in reach. Inside, the children begin to cry. Lila's eyes burn with anger, but she forces herself to stay silent. She knows one wrong word could escalate everything. Crowley pulls back, unsatisfied that nothing incriminating has turned up. His ego demands fuel. He steps closer to the open window on the passenger side, glaring at Lila. "What are you staring at, ma'am? You got something to say?" Lila's voice trembles but holds firm. "We've done nothing wrong. Please, let us go." "Wrong?" Crowley repeats with mock surprise. "I'll decide what's wrong, not you." Marcus clenches his jaw but keeps his voice even. "Officer, if you'll check my license, you'll see everything is in order." Crowley studies the ID but doesn't really look. His flashlight lingers on Marcus's face again. Something about the man's composure gnaws at him. He's too calm, too confident, not like the others Crowley enjoys intimidating. "Step away from the car," Crowley snaps, waving Marcus toward the patrol lights. "We're going to have a little chat." The highway hums with the growing presence of onlookers. A young couple has stopped their car a few yards back, filming openly. Another man across the street holds his phone high, his voice faintly carrying as he narrates to a live stream. Crowley notices but pretends not to. He thrives on the attention, on the silent approval he imagines from those who still believe in his brand of policing. Marcus raises his hands slightly, palms out. "Officer, there's no need for this. My children are frightened." "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you started driving suspiciously through my town," Crowley shoots back. He takes a step closer, his breath hot with hostility. "Tell me, what do you really do for a living? Cars like this don't just fall into people's laps." Marcus meets his gaze, steel beneath calm. For now, he says nothing. Lila watches from the passenger seat, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The children's sobs echo in the confined space. The silence stretches. Crowley smirks, mistaking restraint for weakness. He doesn't know that the man he presses against this highway shoulder is not just another driver, not just another black father enduring another humiliation. He doesn't know that the man before him governs the entire state, and in moments, the truth will turn Crowley's world upside down. The sirens in the distance fade, leaving only the hum of tires rushing past on the highway. The flashing red and blue lights cast long shadows across Marcus Davis's face as he stands on the gravel shoulder, the chill night air cutting against his calm composure. His children's muffled sobs seep from the SUV behind him, a reminder of what is at stake. Officer Daniel Crowley circles like a wolf, flashlight beam dancing across Marcus's chest. He enjoys the power imbalance, the way fear spreads in waves from father to mother to children. Crowley has lived off this fear for years. "Hands on the hood," he snaps. Marcus obeys, palms pressed against the cool metal of his own vehicle. He feels Lila's eyes burning into him from inside the car. He knows what she wants to shout, what his children want to scream. But he also knows how easily this night could end with tragedy if he lets anger speak before patience. Crowley pats him down again, even though he has already searched once. The officer drags the moment out, making sure the passing drivers see a black man pinned against his car, humiliated without reason. "Not carrying drugs, are you?" Crowley sneers. "No, officer," Marcus replies evenly. Crowley smirks, disappointed at the lack of panic. He wants Marcus to stumble, to plead, to break. "What about weapons? Guns? Knives?" "None," Marcus answers. Crowley leans close, his voice low enough that only Marcus can hear. "You think that calm act is going to help you? You think it makes you different?" Marcus does not move. His breathing is steady, his jaw tight. "I think we both know I haven't broken the law," he says quietly. For a split second, Crowley's confidence falters. He expected fear, not measured defiance, but his ego snaps back. He grabs Marcus's arm and yanks it behind his back, pulling out the handcuffs. From inside the SUV, Lila throws open her door. "Stop! He's done nothing!" she cries, stepping onto the pavement. "Stay in the vehicle!" Crowley roars, shoving Marcus harder against the hood. His free hand hovers over his holster, a threat in itself. The children's cries grow louder. A passing truck slows, its driver honking and shouting something inaudible as he records with his phone. Another vehicle stops completely, a young woman leaning halfway out her window to capture the unfolding scene. Marcus lifts his head, eyes finding his wife's. "Lila, please, get back inside." His voice is calm, but it carries the weight of command. She hesitates, torn between fury and fear, before retreating into the car to shield their children. Crowley clicks the cuffs tight, the metal biting Marcus's wrists. He yanks him upright, forcing him to face the blinding patrol lights. "What's your problem, huh? You think you can just roll through here and act like you own the road?" Marcus's voice remains steady. "My problem is that my family is terrified, and you're the cause." Crowley laughs bitterly. "Terrified? Maybe they should be. Keeps people like you in line." The words slice through the night, raw with prejudice. Marcus doesn't flinch. He has heard such venom before, though never with his children watching. He feels rage churn in his chest, but he buries it beneath a mask of discipline. Timing matters. Crowley begins leading him toward the patrol car. His grip is iron, meant to display ownership. As they walk, the crowd of onlookers thickens. At least half a dozen phones are raised now, red record lights blinking like tiny witnesses. "Turn those off," Crowley shouts, but no one listens. The authority of the badge is cracking under the lens of accountability. Marcus pauses, forcing Crowley to stop. His calm voice cuts through the tension. "Officer, you are making a mistake." Crowley yanks on his arm. "The only mistake is you thinking you can tell me how to do my job." But Marcus's eyes hold steady, unwavering. "You don't know who I am, and when you do, this night will be remembered for what you chose to do here." The statement rattles Crowley. He hates riddles, hates when control slips even an inch. "Who you are? You're just another—" He stops himself, aware of the cameras. But the sneer on his lips says enough. Back at the SUV, Lila pulls her phone from her purse. Her hands shake as she dials, whispering into the receiver. The children cling to her, eyes wide, watching their father under flashing lights. Crowley opens the back door of his cruiser, shoving Marcus down toward the seat. The governor's calmness unsettles him more than aggression ever could. He slams the door shut, the sound echoing across the highway. Inside the SUV, Lila leans forward, whispering to her children, "It's going to be all right. Your father, he's stronger than this." But in her eyes, fear flickers. Marcus sits behind the glass partition, cuffs tight, his reflection staring back at him. The lights outside blur, but he holds his composure. He knows the moment of truth is approaching. He knows the badge in his wallet is not just a license to drive. It is the seal of a state governor. And when it comes out, the world watching through those camera phones will see everything differently. Crowley doesn't realize it yet. He still thinks this is his victory. But the balance of power is seconds away from collapsing. The highway is no longer just a stretch of asphalt. It has become a stage. And every passerby is an audience to a drama that will soon explode. Marcus straightens his back against the seat. His silence is not surrender. It is strategy. He knows the time to reveal his identity is near, and when it happens, Officer Crowley's career, his arrogance, and his power will crumble in front of everyone. The backseat of the cruiser feels colder than steel. Marcus Davis sits with his wrists bound, the cuffs biting into his skin, the flashing lights outside throwing shards of red and blue across his calm face. He hears the muffled sobs of his children through the glass, and though he cannot reach them, his steady gaze promises a silent message. I will protect you. Officer Crowley slams the door and walks around the SUV again, his boots grinding against gravel. He likes to circle, to pace like a predator showing dominance. The crowd watching has grown. Drivers pulled over, pedestrians drawn by the commotion. Nearly a dozen phones now capture the unfolding scene. Lila grips her own phone in the passenger seat, recording through trembling hands. She had already placed a call, whispered into it, and now waits. The children cling to her shoulders, terrified. Crowley yanks open the SUV's door. Step out, ma'am, kids too. Lila stiffens. Why? What for? Because I said so. His voice is sharp, meant to cut. He hates being questioned. Lila glances back at her daughter, no older than 10, whose face is streaked with tears. Her son's fists are clenched in silent anger. Every instinct screams at her to resist, to shield them. But she knows resistance will only feed the fire. Slowly, she unbuckles. Out! Now! They climb out under the burning gaze of headlights. Crowley positions them in front of the SUV, as if displaying trophies. His words drip venom. Nice little family outing, huh? Let's see if your story holds up. Lila raises her chin, forcing her voice to steady. Our story? We're coming back from church, that's all. Crowley leans in, his shadow falling over her. Church? Sure. Tell me, you carrying anything? Drugs? Alcohol? Stolen goods? The children gasp. Lila's eyes blaze. Absolutely not. But Crowley isn't listening. He's performing. The audience recording every word is his real target. He thrives on their gasps, their judgment. Search the car, he mutters to himself, pulling out his flashlight again. He rifles through the glove box, the console, even the children's backpacks tossed in the back seat. He finds nothing but pretends otherwise, shaking his head like a disappointed teacher. We'll see what the lab says. The crowd murmurs. A man shouts from across the road, Leave them alone! They ain't done nothing! Others echo his anger, voices rising against the flashing lights. Crowley spins around, hand on his holster. Back off! This is police business! But the shouts don't stop. Cameras zoom closer. The balance of fear shifts ever so slightly. Inside the cruiser, Marcus watches it all through tinted glass. His pulse remains steady. He knows the tide of justice doesn't turn with rage. It turns with revelation. Timing. Patience. He repeats those words silently like a prayer. Crowley returns to the SUV, slams the door shut, and glares at Marcus through the divider. So, you like making a scene? That's what this is, huh? Teaching your kids to hate cops? Marcus speaks for the first time since being shoved inside. His voice is low, deliberate, carrying the weight of authority even through steel and glass. I'm teaching them the truth, that dignity cannot be stolen no matter what uniform stands against it. Crowley snorts. Big words for a man in cuffs. But Marcus doesn't flinch. He leans slightly forward, his eyes sharp. You have no idea who you've pulled over tonight. The statement makes Crowley pause. He masks it with a smirk, but the crack is visible. He hates riddles, hates when power feels uncertain. Before he can reply, more headlights appear. Another car pulls up behind the crowd, doors flying open. Two suited men step out quickly, their movements precise, protective. They scan the scene with trained eyes and head straight toward the SUV. The crowd parts, murmurs rising. Phones swing to capture this new development. Crowley stiffens, hand twitching near his holster. Who the hell are... Step away from the vehicle, one of the men orders sharply, flashing a badge too fast for the cameras to catch, but clear enough for Crowley's eyes. Federal. Crowley hesitates, confusion breaking through his arrogance. He looks back at Marcus, who now sits taller, eyes locked on him with an authority that can no longer be disguised. Lila sees it too. Relief flickers across her face as she realizes the call she made is bringing ripples already. The children cling tighter, sensing change. The suited men move with quiet urgency. One leans toward the cruiser, speaking softly to Marcus through the glass. The cameras can't hear the words, but Marcus nods once. His composure has shifted. No longer silent endurance, but quiet control. Crowley swallows hard, suddenly aware that the stage he built is no longer his. The crowd is no longer his audience, and the man he thought was just another driver might be something far greater. The whisper spreads through onlookers like fire on dry grass. Who is he? Who's in that car? Phones zoom in, hearts pound. The night thick with anticipation. Marcus Davis straightens his shoulders, the glow of the patrol lights painting him in stark relief. The time for patience is ending. The moment of revelation is almost here. The highway has become a theater, and every headlight that slows to pass shines like a spotlight on the unfolding drama. Marcus Davis sits in the back of the cruiser, his wrists cuffed but his posture unbroken. The air outside vibrates with tension. Angry shouts from the crowd, the hum of phones recording, the restless shuffle of Officer Daniel Crowley, who is beginning to realize he may have gone too far. The two suited men who arrived moments earlier stand like sentinels near the SUV. They don't shout or threaten. Their authority is quieter, heavier, carried in the way they scan the scene, the way they glance at Marcus with recognition. They are aides, security shadows who don't appear unless summoned. Crowley tries to reclaim ground. He steps toward them, voice dripping with forced bravado. "This is a police stop. You're interfering. Back away." One of the men flashes a card again, slower this time so both the officer and the surrounding cameras catch the glint of government insignia. "You'll want to reconsider your tone, officer." The crowd murmurs louder. Whispers ripple. Feds? Secret Service? Who is this man in the back of the cruiser? Lila clutches her children, whispering comfort that is as much for herself as for them. "It's going to be okay," she repeats, though her voice trembles. The children look from the suited men to their father behind the glass, trying to piece together the puzzle. Crowley forces a laugh, too high-pitched, too sharp. "Federal or not, this is my jurisdiction. He was driving suspiciously. End of story." "Suspiciously?" A man from the crowd yells back. "He was just driving home." Others echo, voices gaining confidence. Crowley snaps his head toward them. "Shut it, all of you!" But the authority in his voice has thinned. Inside the cruiser, Marcus breathes deeply. The moment is close. He lets the noise wash over him. The chants, the murmurs, the restless shifting of power. His calm has been his shield, but soon his identity will be his sword. One of the suited men walks to the back door of the cruiser and opens it with a swift motion. Crowley shouts, "You can't do that!" But the man ignores him. Marcus steps out, his movements deliberate despite the cuffs. The crowd falls into a hush. Even the night air seems to still. He stands tall, shoulders squared, the patrol lights flashing across his face. Crowley sneers, desperate to hold control. "Get back in the car! You're under arrest!" But Marcus's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Calm, firm, resonant. "No, officer, I am not under arrest, and you are seconds away from understanding why." The murmurs swell. Phones tilt forward, capturing every syllable. Crowley laughs, though it cracks at the edges. "Big talk for a man in cuffs." Marcus lifts his hands slightly, the metal glinting under the lights. "Remove these," he says to the suited men. They hesitate only long enough for the cameras to drink in the drama before unlocking the cuffs with practiced ease. The sound of steel falling open rings louder than the officer's protests. Marcus rubs his wrists once, then looks directly at Crowley. His eyes burn not with anger, but with the gravity of someone who carries the weight of an entire state. "My name," he begins, voice steady, "is Marcus Davis, and I am the governor of Georgia." The words detonate across the highway. Gasps erupt from the crowd. Shouts echo. "Governor? No way!" Phones whip higher, zooming, recording proof of what their ears refuse to believe. Crowley's face drains of color. His mouth opens, shuts, opens again like a man drowning. That's impossible. You're lying." The suited men step closer, their presence sealing the truth. One pulls out a folder, holding it high for the cameras. Official identification gleaming under the lights. The crowd erupts. Some cheer, others curse at Crowley, their voices merging into a roar. "You cuffed the governor! Racist! It's all on video!" Crowley stumbles back a step, sweat slick on his forehead. The weight of the phones, the eyes, the truth crushes down. Lila's hand flies to her mouth, tears spilling, not of fear now, but of vindication. Her children's eyes widen, awe mixing with relief. They had known their father carried power, but to see it revealed here, in this moment of humiliation turned triumph, is something they will never forget. Marcus takes a step forward, free now, his voice rising above the storm. You stopped my family without cause. You terrorized my children. You mocked my wife. And you did it because of the color of our skin. Crowley stammers, I didn't know. That's the problem, Marcus cuts in, his tone fierce. You didn't care to know. You saw a black family and decided guilt before innocence. The crowd cheers, their voices thunderous. Justice! Justice! Marcus turns toward them, lifting a hand. The chants hush slightly, enough for him to speak. Tonight is not just about me. It's about every family who has been stopped, harassed, and humiliated without cause. It ends here. Crowley backs away, his world collapsing. He fumbles for his radio, but the suited men step in, one hand on his shoulder, pressing him still. The governor's revelation has changed everything. The stage is no longer Crowley's. The night belongs to justice now. The governor's words linger in the night air, heavy and undeniable. The highway shoulder, once Crowley's stage of authority, now belongs to Marcus Davis. Cameras flash, voices rise, and the truth ripples outward like shockwaves. Officer Daniel Crowley stares at Marcus as if seeing him for the first time. Sweat beads on his forehead, his hand trembling near his belt. He thought he was bending another black man beneath the weight of his badge. Instead, he's cuffed the highest elected official in the state. The crowd is no longer just curious, it is electric. Cheers mingle with curses hurled at Crowley. He's the governor! Shame on you! We got it all recorded. Marcus steps closer, his presence towering though his voice remains measured. Officer, you abused your authority tonight. You treated my family as suspects without cause. Do you deny it? Crowley stammers, his arrogance collapsing into desperation. I was following procedure. Procedure. Marcus's eyes narrow. Where in procedure does it say you handcuff a man in front of his crying children for driving home from church? The crowd roars with approval. Phones angle higher, capturing every second. Crowley glances around, but there is no escape, no way to rewrite what is being documented. Lila rushes to Marcus's side, the children clinging to her hands. For the first time since the lights flashed, relief floods her face. Marcus, she whispers, her voice trembling with both fear and pride. He pulls her close, wrapping an arm around her and drawing the children in. It's over, he assures them softly, but his eyes, locked on Crowley, promise that this is only the beginning. One of the suited aides steps forward, speaking low but firm. Governor, we should leave. The crowd is growing, and this may escalate. But Marcus shakes his head. His calm has shifted into resolve. No, the people need to see this through. The aide hesitates but obeys, maintaining a protective stance. Marcus turns back to the crowd, raising his voice so all can hear. What happened to my family tonight happens to countless families across this state, but too often their voices are ignored. Tonight, we stand together. Tonight, the silence ends. The crowd erupts. Chants begin, rhythmic and powerful. Justice now! Justice now! Crowley's radio crackles. Other patrol cars are on the way, lights already cresting the distant curve of the highway. He grabs the mic, stuttering into it. Request! Backup at... His words falter when he glances at Marcus, still standing tall and unbroken. The arriving units slow as they approach. But when they see the scene, phones raised, the governor himself surrounded by supporters, they hesitate. Their sirens cut, their lights dim. None rush forward to defend Crowley. The tide has turned too strongly. Marcus steps closer to Crowley, voice low so only he can hear, though the cameras still capture the moment. Tonight, you revealed something far more dangerous than your prejudice. You revealed the rot in a system that protects men like you. Crowley's lips tremble. He wants to argue, but the words die in his throat. His power has evaporated in the heat of exposure. Lila holds Marcus's hand, her eyes locked on the cameras. People will see this, she whispers. They'll see who you are and what he is. Marcus nods. That's the point. From the crowd, a woman steps forward, her phone still recording. Governor Davis, she calls out, her voice shaking with emotion. Thank you for standing up. We've been waiting for someone in power to see us. Marcus turns toward her, his voice carrying, I don't just see you, I am you. Tonight, we begin change together. The chants swell again, the words pounding like a drumbeat across the asphalt. Change together, change together. Crowley takes a step back as though shrinking under the weight of voices. His hand falls away from his holster. His gaze drops to the ground. The suited aides move in closer to Marcus, forming a protective barrier, but he waves them off. No need. The people are the protection tonight. News vans arrive, their satellite dishes rising like sentinels against the dark sky. Reporters spill out, microphones ready, lenses zooming. The story has leapt from highway drama to national headline within minutes. One reporter shouts above the noise, "Governor Davis, will there be consequences for this officer?" Marcus doesn't hesitate. His voice is sharp, unyielding. There will be consequences for any officer who abuses authority. Justice isn't optional, it's required. The crowd cheers louder, the chant shifting now. Justice required! Justice required! Crowley looks around desperately, but finds no allies. The other officers who arrived stand back, refusing to move closer. Their faces are tight, unreadable, but none rush to his defense. Marcus faces him one last time. Your badge was meant to protect. Tonight it became a weapon, and the people will not forget. With that, Marcus turns, guiding Lila and the children back toward their SUV. The suited aides sit to shield them, not from the crowd, but from the cameras pressing closer, desperate for every angle. Crowley remains rooted to the spot, hollow and shaken as chants thunder around him. His career, his authority, his illusion of power, it all unravels in real time. The governor opens the SUV door for his family. His movements calm, deliberate, symbolic. He pauses before climbing in himself, turning once more to the crowd. This is not the end, Marcus declares. It is the beginning of something greater, and together we will demand it. The roar of voices answers, louder than the highway, louder than sirens, louder than fear itself. And as the Davis family drives away, escorted now by unmarked vehicles, the cameras remain fixed on Crowley, alone, exposed, broken. The night has decided its verdict. The SUV glides down the highway, escorted by two unmarked black sedans that appeared almost the instant Marcus revealed who he was. Inside, silence weighs heavier than words. Lila cradles her daughter, stroking her hair, while their teenage son sits rigid, his fists still balled tight in his lap. Marcus keeps both hands on the wheel, eyes steady on the road, though his mind churns. He has faced political battles, legislative wars, angry protests on the steps of the Capitol. But never has his family been thrust into the crosshairs so personally, so publicly. Lila breaks the silence. Marcus, they handcuffed you. In front of the children. He glances at her, sorrow shadowing his face. I know. Her voice hardens. They didn't care who you were. To him you were just another black man. The children stir at her words. Marcus exhales slowly, choosing them carefully. That's the truth of what we live every day. Title or no title, my skin was the only thing he saw. The boy, Jamal, finally speaks, his voice trembling with anger. Dad, I wanted to fight him. I wanted to stop him. Marcus meets his son's eyes through the rearview mirror, and that's what he wanted, to drag us down to his level. You did the right thing by holding back. Tears spill from Jamal's eyes. But you were in cuffs. Marcus swallows the lump in his throat, and now the whole world has seen it. That is more powerful than fists. Lila turns to him, her voice low, urgent. You can't just let this pass. He humiliated us. He terrorized our children. I won't let it pass, Marcus assures her. His tone sharpens. Tomorrow, there will be accountability. For him, for the department that enables him, for every family that doesn't have the platform we have. The convoy turns off the highway, heading toward the governor's residence on the outskirts of Atlanta. Reporters have already swarmed the gates, their cameras flashing like lightning as the SUVs approach. Security waves them through, keeping the press at bay. Inside the safety of their home, Marcus leads his family in, aides fanning out to secure the perimeter. The children retreat upstairs, guided by a staff member, leaving Marcus and Lila in the quiet of the living room. She faces him, eyes blazing. You have to make an example of him. Marcus nods slowly. I will. But not just of him. Of the entire culture that let him believe he could do this. His phone buzzes. He answers, the voice of his chief of staff cutting through the line. Governor, the footage is everywhere. Every outlet has it. CNN, MSNBC, even local stations. It's gone viral in under an hour. Marcus closes his eyes briefly, gathering resolve. Good. Then tomorrow we address it. Prepare a statement for the morning. No spin, no politics, just truth. The line pauses. Governor, This could shake the entire state police structure. The unions will push back, hard. Let them, Marcus says firmly. This time the cameras are on us, and they won't turn away. Lila listens, arms folded, her expression still fierce. When he hangs up, she speaks quietly. Marcus, tonight wasn't just about us. That officer looked at me, at our children, and saw targets. How many others has he done this to, without cameras, without witnesses? Marcus's eyes darken. That's exactly the question I intend to answer. He rises, pacing the room. Tomorrow I'm calling for a full review of Riverton County Police. Every complaint, every stop, every use of force case in the last 10 years. No more silence. Lila watches him, pride softening the anger in her eyes. And the people will stand with you. They saw it. They felt it. Upstairs, faint voices carry. The children whispering, still shaken, still processing. Marcus hears them, and his resolve hardens. This fight isn't just political. It's personal. Later that night, when the house grows quiet, Marcus steps into his study. He pulls open a drawer, retrieving a folder filled with reports, letters from constituents about police harassment, cases dismissed for lack of evidence, testimonies that never made it past local review boards. He had seen them before, skimmed them as part of routine governance. But tonight, they are different. Tonight, they are personal. He spreads them across the desk, pages overlapping like puzzle pieces of a system built on prejudice. His jaw tightens as he reads the names. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, all silenced by reports marked unfounded. The door opens softly. Lila steps in, watching him. You've carried this fight in speeches and policy. Now it's at our doorstep. What will you do? Marcus lifts his eyes, steady, unflinching. I'll do what I swore to do when I took this office. Protect the people, even if it means burning down the systems that resist change. She walks closer, laying a hand on his shoulder. Then you won't fight alone. Not this time. Marcus covers her hand with his own, gratitude flickering in his eyes. Together, they stand over the scattered pages, the weight of both family and state pressing on them. Outside, the media frenzy grows. The world is waiting. And Marcus Davis knows that tomorrow, the fight begins in earnest. Morning breaks over Atlanta with a storm of headlines. Every major outlet runs the story. Governor Davis cuffed by racist cop. Clips from the highway flood television screens, social media feeds, and news tickers. The footage shows everything. Marcus pressed against his SUV, his children crying, the moment the cuffs clicked shut, and finally, the revelation of his identity. Inside the governor's residence, the living room feels less like a home and more like a command center. Phones ring non-stop. Aides rush in and out, their faces drawn with the weight of crisis and opportunity colliding. Marcus sits at the head of the long table, dressed in a dark suit, his expression composed but sharp. Lila sits beside him, her presence steady, her eyes still carrying the fire from last night. Across from them, Chief of Staff Karen Mitchell flips through a stack of reports. Governor, the numbers are staggering, Karen says. Last night's footage has been viewed over 20 million times across platforms. People are outraged, but the unions are already circling. The Riverton County Police Association just released a statement defending Officer Crowley, claiming he followed standard procedure. Marcus leans forward, his voice low but unyielding. Procedure does not include racial profiling. Procedure does not include terrorizing children, and procedure certainly does not include handcuffing a sitting governor without cause. Karen nods. I agree, but they're painting this as an isolated incident, trying to reduce it to a misunderstanding. Lila cuts in, her voice edged with steel. A misunderstanding doesn't make my daughter cry herself to sleep. A misunderstanding doesn't humiliate an entire family because of their skin color. The room stills. Marcus places a hand over hers, grounding the moment. She's right. This isn't about me. It's about every voice silenced because they didn't have cameras or status or a title to protect them. An aide steps in, tablet in hand. Governor, the media is outside. They're demanding a statement. Marcus rises, straightening his tie. Then let's give them one. The governor walks toward the front steps, the weight of his office heavy, but his stride resolute. The gates outside are crowded with reporters, microphones thrust forward, cameras flashing like staccato lightning. Protesters have already gathered, their homemade signs reading "Justice for All" and "End Police Abuse." Marcus stands before the sea of eyes and lenses, Lila by his side. He raises his hand for silence, and the noise falls to a low hum. Last night, he begins, his voice carrying with the resonance of conviction. My family and I experienced what too many families in this state have endured for far too long. We were targeted, harassed, and humiliated by an officer of the law for no reason other than the color of our skin. Gasps ripple through the crowd, though the footage already told the story. Marcus continues, each word deliberate. What happened on that highway was not an isolated event. It was a symptom of a deeper sickness, a system that allows prejudice to hide behind a badge. My children cried in fear, my wife stood in humiliation, and I was placed in handcuffs, not because of what I did, but because of who I am. The protesters cheer, raising their fists. The reporters lean closer. And yet, Marcus presses on, this was not about me. Because I am the governor, my story reached your screens. But what about the fathers who aren't governors? The mothers who aren't married to public officials? The children whose tears don't trend on social media? Their pain is just as real, and too often it is ignored. His voice rises, unflinching. That ends now. The crowd erupts in applause, chants building. Justice now! Justice now! Marcus waits for quiet before delivering the next blow. Today I am ordering a full statewide review of police conduct in every county. Every complaint, every incident of excessive force, every case swept under the rug will be reopened. No badge will shield abuse. No department will hide behind silence. Lila's eyes glisten with both pride and rage. She knows these words will ignite a battle, but she also knows it is the fight worth waging. A reporter shouts from the crowd, "Governor, what about Officer Crowley?" Marcus's jaw tightens. Officer Crowley's actions are under review. But let me be clear. Any officer who abuses authority, who uses race as a weapon, who betrays the oath to protect and serve, will be held accountable. Without exception. The chants swell again, louder than before. Inside the Riverton County Police Department, Officer Crowley watches the press conference on a flickering television. His face is pale, his hands clenched into fists. His fellow officers whisper behind him, their eyes heavy with judgment. The walls that once protected him now feel paper thin. He storms out of the break room, rage boiling in his chest. But even as he slams the locker shut, he knows. The cameras have already tried and convicted him in the court of public opinion. Back at the governor's residence, Marcus steps down from the podium, aides swarming around him. Lila grips his arm. You've lit the fire. Now they'll come for you. Marcus nods. Then let them come, because this time, we won't back down. The day has just begun, but already the battle lines are drawn. The highway incident is no longer just a traffic stop. It is the spark of a reckoning that will shake the foundations of power across the state. And Marcus Davis knows one thing with certainty. The fight for justice is only beginning. The storm Marcus ignited spreads across Georgia like wildfire. By noon, protests swell in front of city halls and police stations across the state. Crowds chant his words from the morning press conference. No badge will shield abuse. The footage of his highway arrest is replayed on giant screens at rallies, fueling a movement larger than one family's ordeal. Inside the Riverton County Courthouse, a closed-door meeting convenes. Police Chief Harold Keaton, his face crimson with frustration, slams a folder on the table. This is a circus. The governor is making an example out of one of my men. And if we let him, he'll dismantle everything we've built. Across from him, Union Representative Paul Landers nods grimly. Our officers are furious. They see this as an attack on all of them. If the governor thinks we'll roll over, he's wrong. Keaton exhales smoke from the cigar clenched between his teeth. Crowley may be reckless, but if Davis brings the hammer down, he'll drag every cop in this department with him. We need to push back and fast. Landers leans forward. How? Discredit him, Keaton snaps. If the public sees him as biased, if they think he's just exploiting race to score political points, his crusade dies before it starts. The men around the table murmur in agreement. The strategy is set. Turn the victim into the aggressor, the truth into propaganda. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Marcus sits in his office at the Capitol, the weight of both governance and personal battle pressing on his shoulders. Reports from across the state flood in, messages of support from citizens, pleas for justice from families long ignored, and veiled threats from those who feel threatened by his stand. Karen, his chief of staff, enters with a grim expression. Governor, Riverton PD and the union are already mobilizing. They're calling this a witch hunt. They've booked airtime on local networks, claiming you're weaponizing your office. Marcus rubs his temples but does not waver. Of course they are. Corruption doesn't collapse quietly. Karen lowers her voice. This will get ugly. They're digging into your past cases, your decisions as governor. They'll try to smear your family if they have to. Before Marcus can reply, the door opens. Lila steps in, her presence both grounding and fierce. Let them dig, she says. We have nothing to hide, but the families who've buried their pain for years, they'll stand with us. Marcus meets her gaze, strength flowing from her words. Then we keep pressing forward. If they want war, we'll give them truth. That evening, national news anchors dissect every angle. Panels debate whether the governor's actions are a bold step toward justice or a dangerous overreach. Yet amid the noise, one fact remains undeniable. The video of Officer Crowley cuffing the governor has seared itself into America's conscience. In Riverton, Crowley sits alone in his dimly lit home, the glow of the television casting harsh shadows across his face. Every channel shows his name, his actions, his sneer frozen in frame. His phone buzzes endlessly, calls from reporters, messages from strangers spewing rage and threats. He throws it against the wall, the screen shattering. Rage boils in his chest, but beneath it lies a gnawing fear. For years he walked with impunity, shielded by silence. Now the shield is cracking, and the world sees him for what he is. At the governor's residence, Marcus tucks his daughter into bed. She clings to his hand, her small voice trembling. Daddy, are they going to take you away again? His heart clenches. He kneels beside her, brushing her curls back gently. No, sweetheart. No one will ever take me from you again. What happened last night was wrong, and now the whole world knows it. That means change is coming. Her eyes search his face, uncertain but hopeful. She nods slowly, gripping his fingers tight until sleep finally claims her. Later, Marcus joins Lila in the quiet of their study. Papers and reports litter the desk, each a reminder of the storm they face. She looks at him, her voice steady. You've started something bigger than yourself, Marcus. Bigger than us. Are you ready for that? He meets her gaze without hesitation. I've been ready my whole life. I just didn't know it would take a night like that to light the fire. Outside, chants echo from a small crowd that has gathered at the gates of the governor's mansion. Their voices rise in unison, steady and strong. Justice for all! Justice for all! Marcus listens, a spark of determination igniting anew. Tomorrow, he murmurs, we take the next step. Crowley isn't the only one who needs to answer. The entire system that enabled him will face the truth. Lila squeezes his hand. Then we'll face it together. And as the chants grow louder under the night sky, Marcus Davis knows the battle has only just begun. The sun rises over Riverton County, but the police headquarters feels like a fortress under siege. Protesters line the sidewalks, their chants rattling the glass windows. Signs read, "Justice for all" and "End racist policing." News vans crowd the parking lot, antennas stabbing at the sky. Inside, the air is thick with tension. Officer Daniel Crowley sits at his desk, staring at the blank wall. His badge lies in front of him, its shine dulled, no longer a symbol of power but a reminder of the storm he unleashed. His phone buzzes with another message, this one from his union rep. Hold tight, we'll spin this. He doesn't reply. He knows deep down that no spin can erase the image burned into the nation's memory. Chief Harold Keaton bursts into the room, jaw clenched. Crowley, you're suspended pending investigation. Effective immediately. Crowley looks up, stunned. Suspended? You said you'd protect me. Keaton slams a hand on the desk. I said I'd try, but the governor's breathing down our necks and the cameras are everywhere. You've become a liability. Crowley swallows hard, rage mixing with fear. So that's it? You're throwing me to the wolves? Keaton leans in close, his voice a low growl. You cuffed the governor of Georgia on camera, in front of his wife and kids. What the hell did you expect? The words cut deeper than Crowley will admit. For the first time in his career, he feels the ground crumbling beneath him. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, Marcus Davis convenes a special task force. The long table is filled with legal advisors, civil rights leaders, and law enforcement officials from across the state. At the head, Marcus stands, not just as governor, but as a father seeking justice. Last night's humiliation wasn't just about me, he begins, his voice steady but forceful. It was about a system that allowed an officer to act with impunity. Today we change that. Karen, his chief of staff, flips through a binder. Governor, we've compiled a list of excessive force complaints from the last decade. Riverton leads the state in racial disparities during traffic stops. 90% of those cases never made it past internal review. Marcus's jaw tightens. Then we'll make them public. Every single one. A civil rights attorney, Samuel Wright, speaks up. Governor, transparency is vital. But if you release those records, the unions will declare war. They'll claim you're undermining law enforcement. Marcus locks eyes with him. I'm not undermining law enforcement. I'm demanding it live up to its oath. Lila, seated quietly until now, leans forward. Her voice is calm, but her words carry weight. Families like ours don't get second chances. Every mother who buried a son, every father who watched his child humiliated on the side of the road, they've been waiting for someone to fight for them. This isn't politics, it's survival. The room falls silent. Marcus nods. She's right. We move forward. By afternoon, the governor holds another press conference. This time he unveils the creation of an independent review board with full authority to reopen cases of police misconduct. Reporters shout questions, flashes blind the podium, but Marcus's resolve never wavers. This board will not answer to police chiefs or unions, he declares. It will answer to the people, and every badge in this state will be accountable to the same law they swore to uphold. The announcement sends shockwaves through the state. Protesters cheer, families of victims weep openly on live television. Police unions issue furious statements, calling the move a betrayal. The battle lines harden further. Back in Riverton, Crowley watches the press conference from his kitchen, the room dark except for the flickering screen. His hands tremble as he grips a glass of whiskey. He's destroying us, he mutters to no one. The anger that once fueled his swagger now curdles into desperation. At the governor's mansion, Marcus sits with Lila on the porch as the sun dips low. The air is heavy, but alive with the sound of chants from protesters who refuse to leave the gates. You know this won't stop with Crowley, Lila says softly. The more you push, the more they'll come after you. Marcus gazes at the horizon, his profile etched in the fading light. Then let them come, because if we back down now, nothing changes. Our children deserve better than silence. She takes his hand, squeezing it tight. Then we fight, together. Inside, the children peek through the curtains, their young faces illuminated by the glow of protest signs. For the first time since that night, Jamal whispers to his sister, Dad's not just fighting for us, he's fighting for everyone. And in that quiet moment, as chants echo into the night, Marcus Davis steels himself for the battles ahead. The system will resist, the enemies will multiply, but the truth is finally out in the open. There is no turning back. The morning after the governor's announcement, the state is alive with tension. News anchors dissect his words, protest crowds swell outside courthouses, and Riverton PD becomes the epicenter of national scrutiny. Inside the Capitol, Marcus Davis reviews overnight reports with his team. Karen sets a thick folder in front of him. Governor, these are just the first wave of complaints the review board will receive. We're already being flooded. Cases from Atlanta, Savannah, Augusta. People are finally coming forward. Marcus flips through the pages, each story more painful than the last. An elderly man beaten during a traffic stop, a teenager arrested for walking home after dark, a mother threatened for demanding to see her son in custody. Lila stands nearby, reading over his shoulder. Her voice cracks. These could have been us, any of them. Marcus looks up at her, his resolve sharpening. That's why we can't stop. We'll give every voice a platform. No more silenced reports. Karen clears her throat. But there's pushback. The police union is rallying in Riverton this afternoon. They're calling it a pro-law enforcement march, but it's clearly a counter-protest. They'll frame it as defending officers from political persecution. Marcus leans back, steepling his fingers. Then we make sure the people know this isn't about politics. It's about justice. Meanwhile, in Riverton, Officer Crowley prepares for that rally. He stands in front of the mirror, his uniform crisp, his badge polished, but his eyes betray the turmoil beneath. For the first time in his career, he feels the weight of the badge as a curse rather than a shield. His wife, standing in the doorway, watches him. Daniel, maybe you should stay home. Every camera will be there. You'll just make it worse. Crowley shakes his head, jaw tight. If I don't stand up for myself, they'll bury me. The union says they'll back me. She doesn't reply, only shakes her head in silence. By noon, Riverton's main square is a boiling cauldron. On one side, police supporters wave flags chanting, "Back the Blue." On the other, protesters demand justice for all. Barricades and officers separate the two crowds, but the tension is palpable, each chant louder than the last. Crowley arrives with other officers walking stiffly into the square. Cameras swarm, microphones thrust forward. Officer Crowley, do you regret your actions? Crowley, did you know he was the governor? Crowley, are you a racist? He keeps walking, face stone, though every word pierces his composure. From the steps of the courthouse, Union leader Paul Landers takes the microphone. Our officers risk their lives every day, and now they're being vilified for doing their jobs. This isn't justice, it's a witch hunt. The police supporters cheer, waving signs. But across the barricades, the protesters grow louder. A woman's voice cuts through. Doing your job doesn't mean harassing children. The clash of voices rattles through the square, and the cameras devour it all. Back in Atlanta, Marcus watches the live feed from his office. His aides argue about responses, but he raises a hand. No spin, no scripted reply. The people will see this for what it is. Lila sits beside him, her hand tightening around his. They're trying to make you the villain. Marcus's jaw tightens. Then I'll face them head on. That evening, Marcus steps before the cameras once again. The press room falls silent. His face is calm but resolute. I've seen the rallies today, he begins. I've heard the chants, the anger, the fear. Let me be clear. I respect law enforcement. I have worked alongside brave officers who serve with honor. But respecting law enforcement does not mean excusing abuse. It does not mean ignoring racism. And it does not mean silencing victims. He leans forward, his voice like steel. To every officer watching tonight, if you uphold your oath, you have nothing to fear. But if you use your badge as a weapon, know this. Your days of impunity are over. The words reverberate across the state. Protesters cheer, union leaders rage, and ordinary citizens feel hope stir in their hearts. In Riverton, Crowley watches the speech on a television in a bar, surrounded by other officers. His knuckles whiten around his glass. He's destroying us, he mutters. But deep down, he knows Marcus isn't destroying law enforcement. He's destroying the culture that let men like him thrive. As Marcus steps away from the podium, Karen approaches. Governor, you've drawn the battle lines. Tomorrow, the review board begins its work. Are you ready for the war that comes with it? Marcus exhales, his gaze steady. I was born ready. Last night wasn't just an attack on me. It was a mirror held up to our state. And now, no one can look away. Lila takes his arm, her voice quiet but fierce. Then let's finish what was started on that highway. And with those words, Marcus Davis steels himself for the fight of his career, the fight that will decide not only his legacy, but the future of justice in Georgia. The first official day of the Independent Review Board arrives like the breaking of a dam. From every corner of Georgia, citizens line up outside courthouses and community centers, carrying folders, photographs, and memories that never faded. The board's hotlines crash from the sheer number of calls. In Atlanta, Governor Marcus Davis monitors the reports from a command center set up in the Capitol. Screens display live feeds. A mother in Macon clutching a photo of her son beaten during a traffic stop, a retired veteran in Savannah describing harassment outside his own home, a young woman from Augusta recounting how her brother died in police custody. Each story adds weight to the moment. Marcus listens, his expression grave. For every story told, 100 more were buried, he says quietly. Lila, standing beside him, nods. And now the silence is breaking. Karen Mitchell, his chief of staff, flips through updates. Governor, we've already documented over 3,000 cases submitted in just the first 12 hours. The scale of this is enormous. Marcus doesn't hesitate. Then we scale our response. Every complaint gets documented. Every voice gets heard. Meanwhile, in Riverton, Officer Daniel Crowley arrives at police headquarters through a back entrance, avoiding the mob of reporters outside. His suspension has left him stranded, stripped of authority but still tethered to the department like a ghost. Inside, whispers follow him down the hall, half pity, half contempt. He barges into Chief Keaton's office. You said the union would protect me. Keaton doesn't even look up from his paperwork. The union protects itself, Crowley. Right now you're radioactive. The governor has the cameras, the people, and now the review board. We can't touch him. Crowley slams a fist against the desk. So what am I supposed to do? Sit back while he ruins everything? Keaton finally looks up, eyes cold. You brought this on yourself. You cuffed the governor of Georgia, on camera. Crowley storms out, rage simmering, but beneath it, fear gnaws deeper than ever. Back at the Capitol, Marcus convenes a press conference to update the public. The room is packed, reporters leaning forward, cameras buzzing. Today, Marcus begins, the people of Georgia are speaking. They are telling their stories, bringing forward truths long ignored. And I promise you this, every single story will be investigated. We will not bury their pain in paperwork. We will confront it, and we will deliver justice. A reporter calls out, Governor, the police union accuses you of waging a war on law enforcement. How do you respond? Marcus's gaze hardens. I am not at war with law enforcement. I am at war with corruption, with prejudice, with abuse. And if some choose to see that as an attack, then perhaps they should ask themselves why. The crowd murmurs, pens scratching furiously across notepads. After the conference, Marcus retreats to his office. He finds a letter waiting on his desk, written in neat cursive. He opens it, scanning the words. It is from a woman named Evelyn Harper, who recounts how her husband was killed during a traffic stop in Riverton 10 years ago. Her closing line pierces him. They told me no one would ever care. Please prove them wrong. Marcus holds the letter for a long moment before setting it down. He whispers to himself, I will. That evening, at the governor's mansion, the family gathers for dinner. The children are quieter than usual, still carrying the echoes of that night on the highway. Jamal finally breaks the silence. Dad, are the bad cops going to jail? Marcus pauses, choosing his words. Some will. Others may lose their jobs. What matters most is making sure this doesn't happen again, to anyone. His daughter, eyes wide, asks softly, Even if they're mad at you? Marcus smiles faintly, though sadness lingers in his eyes. Especially then, doing the right thing doesn't mean everyone will like you. It means you can sleep at night knowing you protected people who couldn't protect themselves. Lila reaches across the table, squeezing his hand. And we'll stand with you, no matter how loud the fight gets. As night falls, protests flare again outside Riverton PD. This time, the chants carry a new edge. Anger not just at Crowley, but at the entire department. Some officers stand behind the barricades, their faces grim, while others avert their eyes, the shame too heavy. Inside his small house, Crowley drinks in silence, the glow of the television showing Marcus's speech on repeat. Each word feels like a nail in his coffin. He mutters to himself, he thinks he can tear us down. He thinks he can erase me. But the louder truth, one he cannot silence, echoes across the state. The governor has awakened something larger than one man's career. And for Marcus Davis, the fight is no longer just about one racist cop. It is about a system built on silence and his promise to break it. The review board's second day begins with lines stretching around city blocks. Families clutch files and photographs, their voices rising with determination. News crews film interviews, capturing tears, rage, and long-buried truths. The state has become a stage for stories silenced too long. In Atlanta, Marcus Davis sits in his office with Karen and a panel of advisors. Reports cover the table, stacks growing taller by the hour. Karen reads aloud, Governor, we have reports of systemic misconduct in at least 6 counties. Officers falsifying reports, suppressing evidence, intimidating witnesses. It's worse than we anticipated. Marcus leans forward, his voice sharp. Then we expose it all. No more shadows. A civil rights leader at the table, Reverend Ellis, nods gravely. Governor, you've given people hope, but hope without action turns to bitterness. The board must act quickly or the public's faith will vanish. Marcus meets his eyes. Action is coming. We won't let them wait. Meanwhile, in Riverton, Chief Keaton and union leader Paul Landers meet in a closed office. Landers slams his fist on the table. This governor is destroying us. The review board is digging into everything. Old cases, sealed files. If this keeps up, half our force could be indicted. Keaton exhales smoke, pacing the room. Then we fight back harder. Discredit him. Paint him as a radical using his own traffic stop as an excuse to strip cops of their power. But people saw the video, Landers snaps. They know what Crowley did. Then we twist it, Keaton growls. We leak rumors. Suggest Davis staged the whole thing for political gain. Feed the media doubts. Turn his strength into suspicion. Outside, chants shake the walls. Justice now! Justice now! Riverton has become a powder keg, ready to ignite. Back at the Capitol, Marcus meets with his legal counsel. A tall, sharp-eyed attorney named Claire Thompson lays out the next steps. Governor, the review board will need subpoena power. Without it, departments can stonewall, hide records, destroy evidence. Marcus nods. Then I'll push legislation through immediately. We'll give the board teeth. Karen interjects. But you'll face enormous resistance. The unions already have lawmakers in their pocket. They'll frame this as government overreach. Marcus's voice hardens. This isn't overreach, it's oversight. If they resist, they'll reveal where their loyalties truly lie. That evening, Marcus addresses the state from the Capitol steps. Floodlights illuminate him against the night sky. Thousands gather, their voices hushed as he speaks. 2 nights ago, my family was terrorized on the side of a highway. But what happened to us has happened to countless families across this state. For too long, their cries went unanswered. Tonight, I promise you this. Their cries are now my command. The crowd erupts in cheers. Signs wave, fists rise. Marcus raises his hand for silence. We will pass new laws. The review board will have full power to investigate. Every officer, every department, every chief will answer to the same law as every citizen. And if they resist, they will be exposed. The chants swell. Exposed, exposed. Lila watches from the side of the stage, pride and fear warring in her chest. She knows every word Marcus speaks paints a target on his back, but she also knows this is the man she married, the man who will never retreat from justice. Across the state, television screens flicker with his image. Families cheer in their living rooms. Victims cry at finally being acknowledged. But in dim bars and police stations, others scowl, muttering dark promises of retaliation. In Riverton, Crowley sits hunched in his living room, the governor's words pouring from the television. His hands shake as he grips a half-empty bottle. He's turning everyone against me, he mutters. Against us. His reflection in the darkened glass looks back at him. Not the enforcer he once believed himself to be, but a man cornered by his own arrogance. Later that night, Marcus returns to the mansion. The children sleep upstairs, their nightmares slowly easing but not gone. Lila meets him in the study, worry etched in her face. You've declared war on an entire system. They won't go quietly. Marcus steps closer, placing a hand on her cheek. I know. But if we don't fight now, when? If not us, who? She exhales, leaning into his touch. Then promise me one thing. Promise me this fight won't take you from us. His eyes soften, but his voice carries iron. It won't, because I'm not fighting alone. Together, they stand in the quiet, the noise of chants faint in the distance. Marcus Davis knows the storm is building, and the nights ahead will be darker still, but the line has been drawn, and he will not step back. The storm Marcus Davis anticipated arrives sooner than expected. By dawn, headlines flash across networks. Governor accused of exploiting traffic stop for political gain. Anonymous sources claim the incident was staged, whispers planted by Riverton's police union. Marcus reads the articles in his office, jaw tight. Karen storms in, phone in hand. Governor, it's everywhere. They're saying you orchestrated the stop, that Crowley was set up, that you wanted to push your agenda. Marcus exhales slowly. Of course, the smear campaign. Lila enters, holding a tablet with comments scrolling across the screen. Some people are buying it. They're questioning your motives, Marcus. They're asking why you didn't reveal your identity sooner, why you let it escalate. His eyes darken. Because if I had, the truth would have been buried like every other case. They don't want justice. They want silence. Meanwhile, in Riverton, Chief Keaton watches the coverage with grim satisfaction. In his office, Paul Landers, the union leader, smirks. The seeds are planted. Doubt is spreading. If we can make people question his honesty, his movement crumbles. Keaton grunts. Keep pushing. Leak more. Old photos, old speeches, anything that makes him look like a radical. Back at the Capitol, Marcus convenes a meeting with allies. Civil rights leaders, clergy, and legislators fill the room. Reverend Ellis slams a hand on the table. Governor, they're trying to turn truth into fiction. If you don't respond, their lies will take root. Marcus nods. Then we answer with facts. We show every angle, every second of that footage. We show the faces of the children crying, the officers' words dripping with hate, and we remind them, if this can happen to the governor, it can happen to anyone. Karen adds, we should bring forward victims willing to testify. Real people, real stories. Their voices will cut through the noise. Marcus agrees. Set it up. A town hall. Let the people speak for themselves. The following evening, a community center in downtown Atlanta overflows with citizens. Cameras crowd the back, reporters line the walls, but the heart of the room belongs to the families seated in folding chairs, clutching their stories like lifelines. Marcus takes the stage, flanked by Lila and community leaders. His voice fills the hall. They say I staged my humiliation. They say I wanted this fight. Let me be clear, I didn't choose this fight. It chose me the moment my children cried in fear on the side of a highway. And it has chosen every one of you who has ever been silenced. The crowd erupts, applause echoing off the walls. One by one, citizens step forward. A mother recounts her son's wrongful arrest. A veteran describes harassment at a traffic stop. A teenager shares how he was tackled outside a convenience store. Their voices tremble but do not break. Lila sits in the front row, tears sliding down her cheeks. She grips Jamal's hand as he whispers, "They're telling the same story we lived." Marcus returns to the podium. His voice rises, fierce and unyielding. These are not isolated incidents, they are a pattern, a system, and no smear campaign will erase their truth. The hall shakes with applause. Cameras flash, capturing the moment. That night, the footage of the town hall spreads faster than the smears. Clips of mothers crying, veterans demanding justice, and Marcus's defiant words dominate social media. Hashtags trend, #justice for Georgia and #we believe the governor. In Riverton, Crowley watches the coverage, fury boiling. He throws a glass against the wall, shards scattering. "He's making me the villain!" His wife's voice trembles. "Daniel, you are the villain!" He spins on her, rage flashing, but her eyes are steady. For the first time, she sees him clearly, not as a protector, but as the man who nearly destroyed their lives. At the governor's mansion, Marcus tucks his daughter into bed. She whispers, "Daddy, people are listening now." He kisses her forehead gently. "Yes, sweetheart, they're finally listening." Later, in the quiet of his study, Marcus reviews the day's reports. For every smear, 10 more voices have come forward. For every lie, truth rises stronger. But he knows the fight is far from over. He stares at the stack of files on his desk, cases reopened, names demanding justice. The storm is raging, but Marcus Davis is no longer just a governor. He is the vessel for thousands of silenced voices, and he will not stop until the system that silenced them is brought to its knees. The town hall echoes through the state for days. Clips of mothers crying and veterans demanding accountability dominate every feed. But the backlash comes just as fiercely. Police unions double down, releasing polished ads claiming Marcus Davis is anti-police. Anchors on certain networks repeat the smear. The governor used his family to push a radical agenda. In the Capitol, Marcus reviews the reports with Karen and Reverend Ellis. "They're trying to bury us under propaganda," Karen says, sliding a tablet across the desk. "But the good news is, our numbers are holding. Public trust is leaning toward you, not them." Reverend Ellis folds his hands. "Because you speak truth, Marcus. Truth doesn't fade, it multiplies. The people know the difference." Marcus exhales. "Then we keep pushing." Meanwhile, in Riverton, tension boils. Protests outside police headquarters grow larger each night. Some remain peaceful, families holding candles, singing hymns, but others turn volatile. Bottles shatter, tear gas spreads, officers clash with demonstrators. The city simmers like a fuse ready to blow. Chief Keaton storms through the station barking orders. "Lock the city down. I want curfews enforced, arrests made. Show them who's in charge." But some officers hesitate, their confidence shaken. One whispers to another, "If the governor's against Keaton, maybe we shouldn't be here." The cracks spread quietly, unseen by the cameras but growing all the same. Crowley, still suspended, lurks in the background. He shows up at the station anyway, prowling like a shadow no one wants near. Officers avoid his gaze, whispers following him. He knows his time is ending, but rage blinds him from admitting it. Back in Atlanta, Marcus prepares for his boldest step yet. He convenes lawmakers, pushing legislation to give the review board subpoena power. Without it, he argues, departments can shred records, bury complaints, erase evidence. With it, we can finally uncover the truth. Opponents sneer. Representative Halford, a longtime ally of the police union, scoffs. "This is government overreach. You're tying the hands of officers who risk their lives daily." Marcus's voice is calm but sharp. "I'm not tying their hands. I'm cutting away the corruption shackling justice. Officers who serve honorably should welcome oversight. Only those with something to hide should fear it." The chamber erupts in murmurs, cameras capturing every word. That night, Lila sits with Marcus in the study. She watches him pore over drafts of the bill, exhaustion etched into his face. "You haven't slept more than 3 hours in days," she says softly. Marcus rubs his eyes. "Sleep can wait. Justice can't." She touches his hand, grounding him. "Just remember, you can't carry this fight alone." He looks at her, gratitude flickering. "I know. That's why I need you. That's why I need the people." Across the state, families gather around televisions. They watch Marcus argue in the legislature, watch the protests flare, watch the battle unfold in real time. For the first time in years, many feel hope-stirring, a hope that their pain might finally matter. In Riverton, the cracks widen. A young officer named Rivera files an anonymous statement with the review board, exposing corruption in the department. It details falsified reports, fabricated charges, even secret payoffs. The file lands on Marcus's desk within hours. He reads it carefully, his expression hardening. "This is bigger than one bad cop. This is systemic rot." Karen nods. "And if more like Rivera come forward, Keaton and Landers won't be able to contain it." Marcus leans back, eyes burning with resolve. "Then we protect the whistleblowers. Their courage is the key." That evening, Marcus addresses the state again, live on national television. His voice carries like a drumbeat. "They say this is a war on police. It is not. This is a war on corruption, on silence, on fear. To the officers who serve with honor, you have my respect. To those who abuse their badge, you will be held accountable. And to every family waiting for justice, your wait is ending." Crowds across Georgia erupt in cheers. Protesters chant his name. But in the dark corners of Riverton, rage simmers. Chief Keaton slams his fist on his desk. "If Davis keeps this up, he'll dismantle us completely." Paul Landers growls, "Then we hit back harder, leak dirt, stir fear, make him look weak." And Crowley, drunk and bitter, mutters from the shadows, "Or maybe we end him another way." His words hang in the smoky air, too slurred to sound like a plan, but chilling all the same. Back at the mansion, Marcus tucks his children into bed. Jamal asks quietly, "Dad, are you scared?" Marcus pauses, brushing his son's hair back. "Yes, but courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing tall even when you're afraid." His daughter whispers, "Will you win?" Marcus kisses her forehead gently. "Yes, because we're not fighting alone." As the night deepens, chants echo from the streets of Atlanta. "Justice now! Justice now!" The movement has become unstoppable, and Marcus Davis knows the fight has crossed the point of no return. The next morning, the Capitol buzzes like a hive. Lawmakers crowd the chamber, reporters line the galleries, and cameras beam every moment across the nation. Today, the legislature will vote on Marcus Davis's bill to grant the Independent Review Board subpoena power. The outcome will decide whether his movement advances or stalls. Marcus enters the chamber, his presence commanding silence. He takes the podium, his voice steady but sharp. "This is not a bill about politics. It is about accountability, about making sure no family ever endures what mine endured. If officers serve with honor, they have nothing to fear. If they abuse their badge, they have everything to fear. Let us choose justice today." Applause breaks from one side of the chamber. The other remains stone-faced, their loyalty tied to police unions rather than truth. Representative Halford rises, his voice dripping with disdain. "Governor Davis speaks of justice, but what he seeks is control. He wants to place every officer under a microscope, strip them of discretion, and turn this state into his personal stage. This bill is an attack on law enforcement." The chamber murmurs, tension rising. Marcus counters immediately. "No, Representative. This bill is a shield for good officers, not a sword against them. If you truly believed in law and order, you would demand accountability, not fear it." The words land heavy. Cameras capture the clash, broadcasting it live into living rooms across the state. Meanwhile, outside the Capitol, the plaza is divided. On one side, protesters chant for justice, waving signs with Marcus's words, "No badge will shield abuse." On the other, police supporters rally under banners of "Back the Blue." Barricades and officers keep the groups apart, but the chants collide in the air like thunder. Back inside, the debate stretches for hours. Supporters argue passionately for transparency. Opponents claim it's a political stunt. Finally, the roll call begins. Names echo through the chamber, each yes or no tilting the balance. Marcus sits in silence, his hands folded, his eyes unblinking. Lila watches from the gallery, her heart pounding. She knows how much rides on this moment, not just for Marcus's career, but for their children, for every family still waiting for justice. The clerk announces the final tally. The bill passes by a razor-thin margin. Cheers erupt from the chamber, protesters outside roar with triumph, and cameras capture Marcus rising to his feet, his face calm but resolute. That evening, news anchors declare it a historic victory. Governor Davis wins oversight power. Commentators debate whether it marks a turning point in American policing. But in Riverton, the mood is darker. Chief Keaton fumes in his office, slamming his fist against the desk. He's dismantling everything. Now they'll dig into our records, our cases, our deals. If this continues, we're finished. Paul Landers snarls. Then we stop him by any means necessary. Smear campaigns didn't work. Protests didn't work. We need to cut him off at the knees. Crowley, sitting in the corner with bloodshot eyes, mutters, "He ruined me. He ruined us. Maybe it's time someone ruins him." The room falls silent. Keaton glares at him, but Landers leans forward, voice low. "Be careful with words like that. Cameras aren't the only thing watching." Still, the seed is planted, dark thoughts growing in the shadows of Riverton. At the governor's mansion, Marcus celebrates quietly with his family. Jamal smiles for the first time in days. "Dad, you did it. You beat them." Marcus kneels, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "This was one battle, son. The war is still ahead. But yes, we took a step forward." Lila watches him, pride and worry mingling in her eyes. "Every victory makes you a bigger target. Promise me you'll stay careful." Marcus meets her gaze. "I'll be careful, but I won't back down." Later that night, as the city sleeps, Marcus stands at his study window. The chants from earlier still echo faintly, carried by memory more than wind. He thinks of the families who will file into hearings, the officers who will squirm under questioning, the truths waiting to be unearthed. He knows the fight is only beginning. The system will resist, the opposition will grow desperate, and danger may strike closer to home. But Marcus Davis has chosen his path, and nothing, not smears, not threats, not fear, will turn him aside. Because now he is not just a governor. He is the voice of the people, and their voices will not be silenced again. The morning after the bill passes, the review board wastes no time. Subpoenas are issued to Riverton PD, demanding records long buried. Boxes of files are ordered to be released. Traffic stop logs, body cam footage, disciplinary reports. For the first time in decades, the walls shielding corruption begin to crack. News crews swarm Riverton, filming officers wheeling boxes into vans bound for the Capitol. Protesters cheer, chanting, "No more hiding!" But inside the station, fury brews. Chief Keaton storms through the halls, barking orders at officers who avoid his gaze. "Don't hand over a damn thing without me seeing it first. If they think they can waltz in here and dig through our history, they've got another thing coming." But younger officers exchange uneasy glances. Some whisper about leaving. Others think of Rivera, the whistleblower whose statement shook the department. Loyalty no longer feels safe. In his small home, Crowley watches the spectacle on television. His face twists as he sees his own name flash across the screen. Crowley's record under review. Every complaint, every excessive force report, every time he thought silence would protect him is now being dragged into the light. He hurls a beer bottle at the screen, glass shattering. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Marcus gathers with the review board in the Capitol. The room is stacked with files, papers spilling across tables. Claire Thompson, the sharp-eyed attorney leading the board, speaks firmly. "Governor, what we're uncovering is staggering. Dozens of cases labeled unfounded have clear evidence of misconduct. Officers lied in reports, chiefs buried complaints. This isn't just negligence, it's conspiracy." Marcus nods, his voice low but steady. "Then we expose the conspiracy. Every name, every department, no one escapes." Karen warns, "Governor, this will unleash chaos. Chiefs will resign, unions will erupt. They'll say you're dismantling law enforcement itself." Marcus leans forward, eyes burning. "We're not dismantling law enforcement, we're saving it from those who poisoned it." That evening, Marcus addresses the state again from the Capitol steps. Floodlights blaze as cameras roll. Today, subpoenas went out. Records long buried are being brought to light. Some say this is chaos. I say it is accountability. Some say I am attacking police. I say I am defending justice, and justice does not fear the truth. The crowd erupts, their chants echoing into the night. Justice does not fear the truth. In Riverton, Chief Keaton watches with clenched fists. He's turning the whole state against us. Paul Landers paces, his voice low and venomous. Then maybe it's time we remind him that power has consequences. He's not invincible. Crowley, slouched in a chair nearby, mutters, "He ruined me, took everything. Maybe someone should take something from him." The room falls into silence. Landers shoots him a sharp look. "Careful with that talk." But none of them truly rebuke him. The seed of violence lingers, unspoken but alive. Back at the governor's mansion, Lila feels the weight of the storm pressing closer. She watches Marcus tuck their daughter into bed, his voice soft as he hums a lullaby. For a fleeting moment, the world outside fades. When he returns to the study, Lila confronts him, her eyes fierce. "Marcus, I know you're fighting for the people, but the more you win, the more dangerous this gets. They won't just smear you, they'll try to break you." Marcus sighs, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know, but if we retreat now, we lose everything. The people finally believe change is possible. We can't betray that hope." She steps closer, gripping his hand tightly. "Then promise me, if they come for you, you'll be ready." He meets her gaze, steady and unflinching. "I promise." Across the state, television screens flicker with his speech. Families cheer, protesters sing, victims of police abuse cry with relief. But in the dark corners of Riverton, hatred coils tighter. Keaton, Landers, and Crowley know their time is running short, and desperate men do desperate things. That night, Marcus stands alone on the mansion balcony, the city lights glowing in the distance. The chants of protesters drift faintly on the wind, a reminder of the movement that has taken root. He grips the railing, his mind replaying every moment since that night on the highway. The cuffs, his children's cries, the cameras. He knows the fight is bigger than him now, bigger than his family. It is a reckoning for an entire system. And though danger looms, Marcus Davis steels himself, because justice, once awakened, cannot be silenced again. The subpoenas hit Riverton PD like a thunderclap. By midweek, state investigators arrive with vans and armed escorts, carting away box after box of files. Camera crews capture every moment, protesters cheering as years of secrecy vanish into the light. Inside the Capitol, Marcus Davis watches live feeds with his team. Claire Thompson flips through the first batch of uncovered documents. "Governor, this is worse than we imagined. Dozens of excessive force cases closed as insufficient evidence despite clear reports. Complaints against Crowley alone span more than a decade." Marcus's jaw tightens. "And yet he kept his badge." Karen, standing beside him, mutters, "Because the system protected him. Because chiefs like Keaton buried the truth." Marcus looks at the cameras broadcasting across the state. "Not anymore." Meanwhile, Riverton PD is unraveling. Chief Keaton storms through the hallways, barking at officers to hold the line. "Do not cooperate without my approval. If they want records, they'll pry them from my hands." But whispers ripple among younger officers. Some quietly admire the governor's courage. Others fear indictments. Morale fractures, the old shield of silence crumbling. Crowley lurks on the fringes, a ghost haunting the station. His suspension bars him from duty, but he refuses to disappear. Officers avoid his glare, some crossing the hall rather than pass him. He mutters to himself in the locker room, "They're all turning on me, on us." At the Capitol, Marcus prepares for a primetime address. The cameras flood in, the press leaning forward. He steps to the podium, his expression grave. "Tonight I speak not as your governor, but as a father. 2 weeks ago, my children cried as they watched me handcuffed for no crime. But what happened to us has happened to countless families, without cameras, without headlines. The review board has already uncovered systemic corruption. This is not a witch hunt. This is a reckoning. And justice will not wait." The speech spreads like wildfire. Social media surges with support, hashtags trending nationwide. Families across America see their own struggles reflected in Georgia's fight. But in Riverton, rage festers. In a smoke-filled back room, Chief Keaton meets with Paul Landers and a handful of loyalists. "This can't continue," Keaton growls. "If Davis keeps digging, he'll drag us all down. We need to stop him." Landers leans in, voice low. "We've tried smears. We've tried rallies. None of it stuck. Maybe it's time we think bigger." Crowley, seated in the corner, lifts his head. His eyes are bloodshot, his voice slurred with whiskey. "You mean take him out?" End this once and for all? The room falls silent. Keaton doesn't answer, but the thought hangs heavy in the smoke. Back at the governor's mansion, security is tightened. Unmarked SUVs patrol the grounds, state troopers posted at every entrance. Marcus notices the tension but refuses to let fear rule his home. At dinner, Jamal asks, "Dad, why are there so many guards now?" Marcus pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Because when you stand up for what's right, some people get angry. But the guards are here to keep us safe. You don't need to worry." Lila studies his face, reading what he doesn't say. Later that night, when the children are asleep, she confronts him in the study. "They're not just angry, Marcus, they're dangerous. You can't ignore that." Marcus leans back in his chair, exhaustion in his eyes but resolve in his voice. "I know, but if I let fear dictate my actions, they win. And I won't hand them that victory." She grips his hand tightly. "Just promise me, you'll be careful. For us." He squeezes back, steady. "Always." Meanwhile, state investigators dig deeper. Late-night calls flood Marcus's office with updates. Claire delivers one that chills the room. "Governor, we found evidence of coordinated cover-ups. Emails between Keaton and Landers discussing how to bury complaints. They protected Crowley and others for years." Marcus exhales, anger flashing. "Then we indict them. Not just the officers, but the ones who shielded them." Karen warns, "This will escalate everything. They'll fight like cornered animals." Marcus's reply is firm, "Then let them. The people deserve the truth." That night, protests swell outside Riverton PD. Chants of "Indict Keaton, indict Landers" echo into the night. Officers stand behind barricades, their faces grim. The line between protector and oppressor has never been clearer. Inside, Crowley drinks alone in the locker room, his reflection fractured in the cracked mirror. He whispers to himself, "If he thinks he can destroy me, he doesn't know what I'm capable of." The storm is no longer just political, it is personal. And as Marcus Davis reviews the mounting evidence in his study, he knows the fight has reached its most dangerous stage yet. The truth is finally breaking free, but desperate men in Riverton are willing to do anything to stop it. The storm that Marcus Davis had been preparing for finally strikes. Early in the morning, state investigators file motions for indictments against Chief Keaton, Paul Landers, and 3 senior officers in Riverton. The charges include conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and destruction of evidence. News alerts explode across screens. Riverton police leadership indicted. Crowds flood the streets, cheering in Atlanta, chanting in Savannah, and holding vigils in Macon. For many, it feels like the first crack in a fortress once thought unbreakable. At the Capitol, Marcus listens as Claire Thompson lays out the findings. "Governor, the evidence is overwhelming. Keaton and Landers coordinated to bury hundreds of complaints. Crowley's record alone should have ended his career years ago. Instead, they promoted him." Marcus's face hardens. "Then their protection ends here." Karen interjects, her voice cautious. "Governor, these indictments will escalate the threat level against you. We've already intercepted chatter. Some officers are furious. They see this as betrayal." Marcus looks out the tall windows of his office, watching protesters wave signs below. Betrayal isn't demanding justice. Betrayal is letting corruption rot the very badge sworn to protect us. Meanwhile, in Riverton, chaos reigns. Officers swarm the station as federal agents arrive to seize files and secure evidence. Keaton is escorted out in handcuffs, cameras flashing, protesters chanting his name with venom. Paul Landers follows, red-faced and shouting about witch hunts as reporters chase him down. Crowley watches from the shadows, his fists clenched so tight his knuckles turn white. He mutters to himself, "They're falling one by one, and they blame me for it all." That evening, Marcus prepares for another public address. Lila helps adjust his tie, her eyes searching his. "They're going to come for you, Marcus. You've stripped away their power, and men like that don't go quietly." He cups her face gently. "I know, but I won't flinch. Not now." On live television, Marcus steps to the podium. His voice carries like a hammer striking steel. Today, Riverton's leadership faced justice. For years, they buried complaints, silenced victims, and shielded bad officers. That ends now. To every citizen, your cries have been heard. To every officer who serves with honor, you have my respect. But to those who think their badge places them above the law, your time is over. The crowd outside the Capitol roars with approval, chants thundering into the night. "Your time is over! Your time is over!" But while the people cheer, darker currents stir. In a dimly lit bar on the edge of Riverton, Crowley drinks with a group of bitter ex-officers. Their voices are low, their words dripping with anger. "He made a fool of us," one says. "He humiliated Keaton. He'll dismantle everything we built." Crowley slams his glass down. "Then we stop him." The room falls silent. One man shifts uneasily. "You mean—" Crowley's eyes are bloodshot, his voice cold. "You heard me. He took my life from me, my career, my name. Maybe it's time someone takes his." The words hang like poison in the air. Back in Atlanta, security around the governor tightens further. Unmarked vehicles circle the mansion. State troopers patrol the grounds, and aides whisper about credible threats. Marcus senses the unease, but he refuses to cower. That night, after tucking the children into bed, he walks onto the balcony with Lila. The city lights glow. Protests echo faintly in the distance. She leans against him, her voice low. "Do you ever regret it? Standing up that night, letting it play out instead of stopping it early?" Marcus shakes his head slowly. "No. If I had revealed myself the moment Crowley stopped us, the truth would have been buried again. The people needed to see the reality. They needed to see that even a governor isn't safe from injustice." Lila exhales, resting her head on his shoulder. "Then whatever comes next, we'll face it, together." Inside, the phone rings. Karen's voice crackles over the line. "Governor, intelligence just confirmed. Threats against you are escalating. We believe Crowley is involved." Marcus's face hardens. "Then let's bring him in." But it won't be that simple. Crowley, driven by desperation and rage, is slipping further into darkness. And the storm he is preparing to unleash will test Marcus Davis like never before. The battle has shifted. It is no longer about policies or subpoenas. It is about survival. And as the night deepens over Georgia, both sides steel themselves for what's to come. The sun rises over Atlanta, but the air is heavy with unease. News outlets buzz with footage of Keaton and Landers in handcuffs, the images replayed like a victory reel. Yet behind the celebration, whispers of danger grow louder. Intelligence reports pile on Marcus Davis's desk, each one warning of escalating threats tied to Riverton loyalists and to Daniel Crowley. In the war room of the Capitol, Karen briefs Marcus and his security detail. "Governor, we've intercepted chatter. Crowley has been seen with disgruntled ex-officers. They're angry, unstable, and openly talking about retaliation. We believe you are their target." Marcus folds his hands, steady but grim. "Then let's not wait for them to come to us. Issue a warrant. Bring Crowley in before this spirals further." Claire Thompson, leading the review board, nods. "We have grounds. His record alone justifies questioning. But Governor, once we move on him, the backlash will be explosive." Marcus looks around the table, his voice firm. "Explosive or not, justice cannot wait. If we hesitate, they'll take it as weakness." Meanwhile, in Riverton, Crowley prepares for his last stand. His house is a wreck. Bottles scattered, curtains drawn, walls plastered with clippings of Marcus's speeches. He straps on his old service pistol, muttering to himself, "He thinks he can erase me. He thinks he can humiliate me, not without a fight." At the governor's mansion, Marcus spends breakfast with his family. Jamal stirs his cereal absent-mindedly, eyes downcast. "Dad, they keep talking about threats on TV. Are you safe?" Marcus reaches across the table, resting a hand on his son's. "Yes, because I have people protecting me, and because I'm doing the right thing. Don't ever let fear keep you from standing for what's right." Lila listens, her heart tight with worry. Later, when the children leave for school under heavy escort, she turns to Marcus. "They're circling closer, Marcus. You can feel it. Promise me you won't take unnecessary risks." He meets her gaze, his own lined with exhaustion but blazing with resolve. "I promise I'll be careful, but I won't back down." That afternoon, federal agents move in. Crowley is spotted at a bar on the outskirts of Riverton, his voice rising in drunken rage about taking the governor down. SWAT teams surround the building, weapons drawn. Crowley stumbles outside, gun flashing in the sunlight. Cameras capture the standoff as news helicopters hover overhead. Reporters shout into live broadcasts, suspended officer Daniel Crowley in armed standoff with federal agents. The nation watches as negotiators call out to him. "Crowley, drop the weapon. This doesn't have to end badly." But Crowley's voice cracks with fury. "He destroyed my life. He turned everyone against me." From the Capitol, Marcus watches the live feed. His aides plead with him to stay out of it, but his instincts pull differently. He knows this isn't just about a broken officer, it's about a system that let men like Crowley thrive. Hours drag by as negotiations stall. Finally, Marcus makes his choice. "Patch me through," he tells the commander on site. "Let me talk to him." The room erupts in protest. Karen's face pales. "Governor, that's too dangerous." But Marcus's voice is unyielding. "If he wants me, let him hear me. Let the world hear what justice sounds like." Minutes later, a secure line connects. Crowley's voice snarls through static. "You think you're better than me? You think being governor makes you untouchable?" Marcus's reply is calm, steady, resonant. "No, Crowley, it makes me responsible. Responsible for the families you terrorized, for the children you made cry, for the badge you turned into a weapon." Crowley spits curses, but his voice wavers. "They were just nobodies. You made me look like a fool. You made yourself look like a fool," Marcus counters. "The cameras didn't invent your hate, they revealed it. And now you have a choice. Drop the gun and face justice, or let the world see you for what you truly are." For a long moment, silence stretches. The crowd outside holds its breath, cameras zoomed in, millions watching live. Crowley's hand trembles on the pistol, his eyes dart across the line of armed agents. He sees no allies, no shield left. Finally, with a guttural roar, he hurls the gun to the ground. Agents swarm, tackling him to the pavement, snapping cuffs on his wrists. The crowd erupts. Protesters cheer. Reporters shout. Across the state, families watching on television weep with relief. Marcus exhales, his shoulders heavy but steady. He whispers, "It's over." But deep inside, he knows it's not truly over. Crowley is just one man. The system that enabled him is still vast, still festering. Tonight, however, the people saw something powerful, that justice can prevail, even against those who once thought themselves untouchable. At the mansion, Marcus returns to his family. Jamal runs into his arms, tears in his eyes. "Dad, you're safe." Marcus holds him tight. "We're safe, because we stood together." Lila watches, her eyes shining with pride and fear mingled. "One battle is over, but the war isn't." Marcus nods. "And tomorrow, we keep fighting." The arrest of Daniel Crowley dominates every headline in America. Screens replay the moment he threw down his gun and was swarmed by agents, his face pressed into the pavement, his wrists cuffed just as he had cuffed Marcus Davis on that highway. For many, it feels like justice served. But for Marcus, it is only the beginning. At the Capitol, the review board's hearings intensify. Families step forward one after another, recounting stories of harassment, brutality, and silence. Their voices fill the chambers, their pain broadcast nationwide. Marcus sits through every testimony, his expression solemn, his presence a reminder that their cries no longer fall into emptiness. One afternoon, Evelyn Harper takes the stand, the widow whose letter Marcus once read in his study. Her voice trembles as she recalls her husband's death during a traffic stop. "They told me no one would ever care. But today, standing here, I know someone finally does." Marcus feels the weight of her words settle over him. He leans forward, his voice gentle. "Mrs. Harper, your husband's story will not be forgotten. His name, and the names of so many others, are the reason this change must happen." The chamber erupts in applause. For the first time in years, Evelyn smiles through her tears. Outside, the movement swells. Marches fill the streets of Atlanta, Savannah, Macon. Protesters carry signs that read, "Justice does not fear the truth." Marcus's own words, now etched into the heartbeat of the people. But resistance remains fierce. Police unions continue their campaign, labeling Marcus a radical, a traitor. Certain networks run endless commentary about the governor who hates cops. Threats against him and his family still pour in daily. Yet through it all, Marcus does not falter. One evening, he gathers his family in the living room. The children sit curled on the couch, Lila by his side. "I know this has been hard," he begins softly, "but I want you to know, we are making a difference. Because of us, families across Georgia are being heard. Laws are changing. Justice is rising." Jamal looks up, his young face serious. "Dad, will it ever stop? Will the bad cops ever all go away?" Marcus pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Maybe not all at once, but every time we hold one accountable, every time we change a law, every time we shine a light, we make it harder for injustice to hide. And that's how real change begins." His daughter whispers, "So we keep fighting?" Marcus smiles gently. Yes, we keep fighting. Always. Days later, the state legislature passes the final piece of Marcus's reform package, granting the review board permanent status with full authority to investigate misconduct across Georgia. The vote is not unanimous, but it is decisive. On the Capitol steps, Marcus addresses the people once more. The plaza overflows with thousands, their chants rolling like thunder. Cameras beam his words across the nation. 2 weeks ago, my family was stopped on a highway for no reason. I was humiliated in front of my children, handcuffed not for what I had done, but for who I am. That night, millions saw what countless families endure in silence. Today, we turn that pain into progress. Today, we say no more silence, no more impunity. Justice will be the shield of the people, not the weapon of the powerful. The crowd roars, their voices shaking the ground. No more silence! No more silence! Lila stands just behind him, pride shining in her eyes. The children watch from the balcony above, waving to the sea of people who chant their father's name. In Riverton, officers watch grimly as Keaton, Landers, and Crowley are led into courtrooms. Some feel betrayed, others relieved. A younger generation begins to whisper about reform, about serving with honor rather than fear. The cracks Marcus created are becoming foundations for something new. That night, back at the mansion, Marcus stands on the balcony overlooking the city lights. Lila joins him, slipping her hand into his. You did it, she whispers. He shakes his head gently. We did it. The people did it. And this is only the beginning. She leans against him, her voice soft but certain. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. He gazes out at the skyline, his voice quiet but resolute. Justice has taken root, and no one, no officer, no chief, no system will ever silence it again. In the distance, the chants of protesters still echo through the night, a chorus of hope rising above fear. For the first time since that night on the highway, Marcus Davis allows himself to breathe deeply. The fight is far from over, but the tide has turned. And as the governor of Georgia, as a father, as a man who stood in handcuffs before the world, he knows one truth above all: justice has prevailed.